Hi, I'm Fred Smith, talking about registrations on Yamaha Ranger keyboards, and today we're going to learn about the registration memory contents screen and the registration sequencer. So the exercise we have for today is to take this simple song Clementine, which has 3 verses and a chorus, and spice it up. And one of the things that we want to do is to change key when we move from one verse to the next. And of course the trick will be when we start playing the chorus, we want it to follow along in the same key as the verse. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to create a registration, which is going to do everything that we want. So of course we need a proper style. It's certainly not stadium rock, it's a 3/4, so we want a waltz, so we'll use country waltz. And the default tempo for country waltz is way too fast for this song, so I'm going to set it to 114. That's what I want. And to create the registration, I'm just going to steal the OTS for country waltz and use it for my registration. That's how I'm going to start. So I'm going to use A for my intro, a tempo of 114, and I'm going to start at a transposition of -1 to get started. And I'm going to put that in R1. But before I store it, I want to look at the registration memory contents screen and see what it is storing. So we've got it storing the style and the voice and the harmony and the tempo. We certainly need to save the transposition, but that's all we want this registration to store. You got to treat registrations like they're in the military. It's on a need-to-know basis. So for example, I certainly don't want it storing my pedal settings. I don't want it messing around with those. If I ever change them for some other gig, I don't want this registration changing them back. So these are the only things I want this registration to remember. That's the items that are checked. So I'm going to put that in R1. Now when I move from the intro to the first verse, I want a fill. So when you memorize a style and the light is flashing, that will give you a fill when it first starts. So we'll put that in R2. Then I'm going to steal OTS B and move up 1 in my key. I might move up a semitone and store that in R3. That'll be verse 2. And then steal C, move up a semitone, put that in R4. That'll be verse 3. I'm going to use D for the chorus. And as I put that in R5, the one change that I want to make is, remember, I don't want the chorus to switch keys. I want it to follow along on the key that the verse is in. So I'm going to turn this off. So this registration will not change the key. It will maintain it from the chord, from the verse. Put that in R5. And add a little more spice at the end. I'm going to slow it down, so let me change the tempo to 96. We'll put that in R6, and then we got to have an ending. So we'll put that in R7. So now we got our registration set up. But the next thing is, if I was to play this manually, I'd have to remember what sequence I want these buttons in. That's a lot of work, and I'm getting pretty old for this stuff. And what do I have a keyboard for? So we're going to get the keyboard to remember what sequence we want to play these in. So we're going to go to Function, we're going to go to Registration Sequence, and we're going to make sure that Registration Sequence Enable is on. So as soon as that's on, it's going to follow the sequence that you set. And in order to move along in the sequence, I'm going to use pedal 1. It's also possible to set a pedal to move backwards in the sequence. I don't want to do that, so I turn it off. And you also tell it what you want to happen at the end of the sequence. Stop means do nothing. Top means go back to the beginning of the sequence, and what I like to use is next bank. It will go to your next registration bank in alphabetical order, so you can move along in songs really quickly. So now we're going to create the sequence. The sequence starts with registration number 1, which is our intro, number 2, which is verse 1, then we want to move to the chorus, and then we want to move to verse 2 and the chorus, and verse 3 and the chorus, and slow down at the end and play an ending. So there's our sequence. And as soon as we hit the exit button, it asks if we want to change it. Of course we do. Why do we all that work if we didn't want to change it? Yes, I want it. So now we're going to play this song and make all these changes, and all I'm doing is hitting the pedal. So you hit the pedal once, and it will move to the first sequence in your registration, and off we go. Well, we'll play it properly. Change key. L key changed. Change key. So there's the power of registrations, that you can get it to do all these things and all you do is tap the pedal to move from one to the next. Enjoy.